So I have a question on here again that you guys already discussed, but let's go into it a little bit further. It says this. Actually, this is one of mine. So this is just what I see. And I'll just read it. It says, I see a lot of millennials struggling to make ends meet. What advice do you have specifically to moms who are feeling overwhelmed by their workload and trapped by the monotony of life? And so that I wrote that down because it's been coming up a lot lately in either, I don't know, people that I'm acquainted with or just what I see on Facebook. Mm-hmm. And I say millennials because I'm probably the oldest of the millennials, but we live in a time where it's real, the economy and everything, mm-hmm. It's really hard, especially for those that are trying to do the single family income, or they're raising their kids or doing the stay-at-home mom thing to make it, okay? In the world we live in, 2017 America, it's tight, money's tight, and you have moms that are at home and they're doing some of the stuff you guys said, like the laundry, they're taking care of all the kids, dishes all the time. The husband comes home and wants to sit down and watch TV and eat dinner and stuff, and then they get on Facebook and they see this adventurous life that everyone's having, all the vacations are going on and all the things that they bought. Mm-hmm. And I see a lot of, and it's not just moms, but people that they look at that and you can tell that they're struggling. Mm-hmm. And that and even just thinking about that, like I'm getting depressed thinking about that, and you can think that, man, is this really what I thought my life was going to be? And you can just continue on down that thought process. So for people who are in that position, from the stuff that you guys have already mentioned, what would you tell them?
Well, I'm not in the trenches like Jenny is right now. I mean, she's doing it. I can only tell you what I used to do, and kind of what I still do. I can get the same feeling as well. Mitch especially has a very busy, time-demanding job. And, this year we took our vacations to help family. And I was telling him the other day, I need a vacation. And I saw somebody that had gone somewhere, and I'm like, oh, I really want to go there. And my mind starts going down this path. And so again, I have to take that thought captive and I have to bring it to Jesus. I do, because this is what God has called us to do. And I have to just resettle that in my heart again. So I don't think there's ever any right or wrong way to get your heart settled in that sense. Other than if you don't go to Jesus, that would be wrong. But everybody comes to that place, I think, at a different time in their life or in different ways. But finances are tight. And when my girls were little, and I'll let Jenny answer after this, but when my girls were little, our vacations were to see family. We did not go anywhere. And one day a year we went to Disneyland. On the Forest Service had a Forest Service day that you could get in for free.
Oh, wow.
And that was what we did. We didn't have money to go on vacation. We never went. But, we did go to the park and roast hot dogs on the campfire and tried to do fun things like that. But we never went on vacation.
Well, as we sit here on social media.
Yeah. Good old social media.
I will say that one of the things that I believe that Instagram and Facebook and all, and, mm-hmm. and I'm not opposed to it. I'm on them all. Mm-hmm. But what they can do is they can discount the mission.
Yeah.
And so as a mom, my mission is to raise godly children. And when I get distracted mm-hmm. by the things on social media, I begin to focus on other things besides just my mission. Mm-hmm. And so if you don't have a why, okay, why am I in these mm-hmm. trenches? Why am I doing this? Then you're going to lose the power to keep going. Mm-hmm. And, and when we get on and we look at other people's lives, understand they're just, and I've done this before. Mm-hmm. I'll take a picture of something and I'll say, oh, there's all that laundry in that picture, and I'll delete it and I'll take it from a different angle. Okay, so we're only mm-hmm. seeing a snapshot of what people want us to see. And so, number one, we shouldn't be looking at where God has other people and how they're putting their lives on Facebook. But I don't want to discount the reality of being in those trenches, and that's what they are. Mm-hmm. They are trenches. And my kids, my youngest is 7 now, and so I'm climbing out of the trenches. Mm-hmm. I'm muddy, I'm dirty, I've got frostbite. I am worn, but I'm coming on the other side. And I can remember those days. Somebody once told me, incredibly wise Christian woman told me, Jenny, don't give up. They are extremely long days, but they are it's an amazingly short season. And she was so right, because I feel like I was just going down into those trenches, and now I'm coming back out of them. But what I didn't lose sight of as I was in it, and I was in some pretty deep trenches. I don't know, a lot of you guys know me and know my story, but we adopted 2 kids, and so that took my trenches even deeper and harder and longer, and the ministry was a lot harder than I ever anticipated being a mother would be. But if you stay focused on the why, which is to raise godly children, and don't stray from God's word, no matter what the world tells you, no matter what other Christians can tell you, don't stray from what God's word says in raising your children, and you will begin to see the fruit. Some of my kids are older now. My oldest is 13, and I'm just beginning to see some of the fruit come out in him of all of those days that I spent in the trenches down there. And so, I would say about the money thing, don't worry about it. We're not supposed to be worrying about money. And, the only reason I feel like we worry about money is because we worry about what other people think of us. You know what I mean? I think we all in America are some of the wealthiest people on the planet.
Even the
and
poorest
so
is.
if you start to get to that place where you're seeing somebody's rug and you're like, I love their rug, why don't I have a rug? And my dog just completely destroyed my rug. I had to throw it out. And so now I'm looking at him, why don't I have a rug? You know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. When my kids are all curled up on a blanket by the fire, it doesn't matter to them whether we have a rug or not. It just doesn't matter. Don't forget the ministry that we're called to. So.
And and then a practical way too is find ways that you can have fun that don't cost any money, right?
Yeah.
And and that's the thing, is that there's tons of things you can do that don't cost any money. I think, again, we get in our head and we think it should be a certain way, and when it's not that way, then we think it's wrong, and then we try to fix it instead of, wait a second, this is where God has called us. This is what we're doing. And like you said, we're raising godly children, and so that's why you don't work tons outside the home. Right. And so, you can have fun other ways.
We don't want to raise entitled children. No. That's what what you're preventing by not giving your children everything that they want, not going to Disneyland every year, is this sense of entitlement. And so, sometimes in our family we go a little too far. Like my daughter, her birthday is in March. And last weekend, she came up to me and said, Mom, do you think maybe we could do my birthday cake this weekend? Because I kept telling her, we'll do it, don't worry. You can have fun, you can do things, and you don't have to throw massive birthday parties. You don't have to do all of these things that we see other people. I don't know who these people are, right. But they're, and where they're finding the money to do it, but they're doing it and they're posting it, and you just stay away from it. Just don't focus on it.
And you have to purpose in your heart not to focus on it.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that it's not going to come.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean the war isn't going to come. It's just that once it's there, you have to purpose in your heart to move along.
And you have to be settled in the ministry that God has called you to, whatever your family looks like.
Yes.
So I can tell you that one of the things I struggled with the most when we first adopted, and my kids are fantastic now. I can take them anywhere. The 2 that we adopted, sometimes I can take them in public better than I can my bio kids. But one of the hard things for me was I would see all of these families going out and doing all of these things that I look and I say, well, we could never do that. And I would get this pity party. Yes. And then I would have to be reminded, God didn't call me to be the mother of those children.
Right.
He called me to be the mother of these children and to live the ministry that he's called me to and be content with it. And so that's, we just have to keep our eyes on the ministry of the family that he's called us to.
Yeah. And that's good for marriage too, don't you think?
Yeah.
Because even if you are a Christian today and you're married, then that's the marriage God's called you to. That's the husband that God's called you to. So just be there and enjoy it. I love what Elizabeth Elliot said. Thank God for what is given, and don't allow the not given to spoil it.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good.
I like that.
Yeah.
A lot of time, I think too. A lot of times people, like that shouldn't even be an option. Whether you're looking at divorce or whatever. When you're married, like, we shouldn't even go there. This is my marriage, no matter what.
Right.
Even if it gets worse, it doesn't matter. This is what I'm going to focus on.
That's right.
So, are you good? Good.
I'm good.